So the next example I'm going to do an example that is a little different, but pretty interesting and could be quite relevant for lots of our clients. So this particular example is an integrated example. So an example where we get work orders and tasks from Maximo. They come in to our P6 automatically. And when they come in, I'm going to explain a bit of the struggle that we have when they come in to P6. So let me try and explain what we're seeing, and I'm going to use these down here as an example. So someone creates a work order in Maximo. Okay, there's a question. Is this feature different than global change? Okay, that is an excellent question. So some of the things that we do in P6-Calculator, you cannot do in global change. So if you have used global change, you will know that it's limited to how it works with the different data in P6. So for example, if I'm trying to do something at the activity, I can only do it at the activity. I can't grab data from the resource or the expenses and get those to fill in something on the activity. In fact, I can't see project level data in global change either. So the global change has its purpose, but it's not as functional as what we can do in Calculator. And I don't believe, I can't swear by it, but I don't believe that you could do the example I just did. I don't think you can rip through the title of a calendar and go get some of the data to make a code. Okay, so global changes are handy, but they're very limited in scope as to how you use them and what you can do with them. So that's where P6-Calculator goes far, far beyond what you can do with a global change. So whenever we're working with Calculator, the first thing we do is see if you can do it in global change. But once our client has Calculator, then yes, we might jump into using Calculator just because it's easier, first of all. You don't have to remember to run it. The other thing you have to be very careful with global change is it works on what's on your screen, okay? So if I'm in a layout that's filtered, I'm not getting all the data. So you have to be very careful with global changes, that you are running them properly, that you have a proper layout that you run them in, okay? I've seen people think that they ran the global change correctly, but they had the wrong layout open, okay? So you do need to be careful with that. Those are some of the potential pitfalls with global change. But yeah, always look to see whether you can do a global change first, but it's very limited in scope, and that's why we've got Calculator, and we can do much more flexible things, okay? You can't hit all the data layers with global change. Okay, so let me talk about this example, because although this might not be exactly your scenario, you might have a certain idea that this could fulfill as well. So we have an automation in this example with Maximo, but it doesn't have to be Maximo. It can be any other system where you're pulling and creating work orders and activities. So SAP might be one, Fusion, Oracle Financials, with the maintenance modules, could be many different systems. So we've done this sort of scenario with other clients as well. So this is an example where we have the work that comes in, and we've got a start and finish milestone. And in this example, we have 2 activities. Well, it comes into the system, and where does it put it? Well, you can see right here, it sticks it right on the data date. Okay, so it's right on the data date as it comes in. Now, if you've ever had to put out a daily or weekly plan, you know that you don't want a brand new scope of work, maybe it just got approved, coming into your current work week. So with this example, what we did was we put this hold activity or wait activity or backlog or bucket activity, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you call it, into the schedule. And you can see that this activity has some length to it, okay? In this example, it's several months long. It could be 3 months long. Now, what are we doing with that thing? Well, we want that activity to control. I'm just going to reschedule. We want that activity to control where these new works come in, because we don't want them landing in our current work week because they're not ready to be worked on, okay? So that's what this thing is doing, and I can squeeze this up a bit so I don't have to scroll so much. Now, you might say, well, it doesn't make sense to make it 3 months long for certain of our work types. Some of the work types maybe only need a 4-week holding bucket, or maybe need a 6-week or 8-week holding bucket. Okay, so with this particular client, they had lots of different work types, lots of different work areas. So we wanted to give them a lot of flexibility on how they created this holding bucket activity. So what we wanted the computer to do for us was to automatically create a logic tie to this new work so that it would go on the back of this bucket activity, to keep it out of our work window because we're planning in these next few weeks. So that's a lot of stuff. If you think that you're getting 10, 100 work orders a day, if I had to build this logic every time to hold these out, I'd be doing that all day long almost, okay? So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to automate it so that these users don't have to be diverted from what they're trying to get done, which is the plan for this week and next week, and not divert it from new work that's going to be important in 6, 8 weeks down the road. So we automate that, partly with our integration, but also we can use Calculator to automate these things too, okay? So you can see down here, it's the same example, but not quite coming together yet, okay? So I'm going to run the calculator on this example so that we get this result. Now, what can happen is we might have a project. So these are different projects, this blue level. We might have a project where they forgot to create this wait activity, okay? So the ideal is you have a template project that has it in there that you create all your new projects from. But it's possible that they forgot to do that. It's possible they deleted it, you know, so there could be a lot of things that could go wrong. So we want it to try and mitigate those as much as possible. So you can see here on this project, we actually have 2 activities that are called wait, that are the wait type. So the computer doesn't know what to do in this scenario. So you can see here the logic's not built here. So these would be moved. Okay, so I'm trying to show you that this particular calculator function is doing all sorts of good things for the user. So let me try and explain that a bit more. So at the project level, okay, because if you have hundreds of projects or thousands of projects where you need this wait activity to work for you, you don't want to have to dig into every project to go see if it's set up right. So we monitor and we let the schedulers know that something's not good, not right in their project. So you can see here, we're looking and it's saying this project is missing its wait activity. Okay, so it's missing, there isn't one. So you need to create one. That's what this is letting the user know. So they don't have to go dig into the project. They have a warning right there. Now this, and with this little stop sign, it's very easy to make a layout to filter on the ones that are messed up and you need to fix, okay? So that's a layout you can run every Monday morning just to make sure everything's good. It'll take you 2 seconds. You run it, you make sure everything's good, and you keep going, okay? If you see a problem, then you can fix it, okay? You're not finding out 6 months later that everything was messed up. You can be proactive. That's what we're trying to drive with calculators, being proactive on your strong business processes. So this one's letting us know we got a problem here too, because now we have 2 weight activities. So that's not good. So we need to fix it, okay? And this one is saying, okay, I think this is not actually true. That's because I copied this. I think I just need to rerun this. Okay, so I'm pretty sure these are false because I fixed them, and I think I just need to rerun this, which I didn't do. Alrighty. Okay, now the other thing we have in this particular utility in P6-Calculator is we have a control on how long that activity will be set, okay? So you might say, well, I only need a 2-week window, so 80 hours might be enough, okay? I might need a longer window. So this is done in hours because everything in P6 is done in hours. So if I want a 4-week, which is 20 days, and I need it to be 8 hours a day, I can make it 160. So I can make these different lengths. I don't have to live with one option only. Okay, so you've got flexibility. And again, this is something that can be monitored by the senior schedulers, by each scheduler right away. Okay, so very easy to set up. So, Ravi, how do I run this? Do I just rerun this by putting the backlog in here, or do I need to clear this date? What's my best method here to get this to rerun on all these? Okay,
No,
this
you
backlog?
just sign it. It will run
Okay.
automatically. You don't have
Okay.
to clear up that date.
Okay, good. So I'll run it. I'll start running it. Now it's going to run on that one that I had from scratch. It's a brand new one. And I didn't fix these 2 messed up ones here. So let's go ahead and I'll show that while it's running. Okay, so this might take a second. So I'm running it brand new on this one down here. Okay, so you see this doesn't have any logic to these, and this activity is quite a bit longer than what I just asked it to make it. Okay, so it's going to do a few things. It's going to rearrange the length of this activity, and it's going to put the logic on there. So let's see. Oh yeah, it's working. It's working its way through. So you see it just change that duration, and it's going to put logic onto this. Now, how does it know what to put logic onto? So the calculator, there it goes. It did it. Okay, awesome. So this part is done. So you can see here it did the logic here to the start milestone. And these aren't milestones. I should have fixed them. I fixed these. I missed these. So they should be start milestones, but they've been tagged with a code. So we like to use codes instead of using start, milestones and activity IDs. We don't like using stuff like that because it's easy to mess those up and change them by mistake. So we like to use things like activity codes. So we've told it that you put the finish to start from this holding bucket activity to the activity that's been tagged as the work order start milestone. So that's what it did. So it did that one, and then it's got another logic tied to this one. Okay. Now again, this is configurable. You can put it to what makes sense in your business, but in our case, all our work orders have a start milestone and all of them have a finish milestone. That's the way we built this. And it works really nice, clean for the project team. Okay, they know when new work comes in, it's not going to land right in their next few weeks. It's going to be held back so they can decide where to put that work. Okay, so that's how this thing works. So of course, what I've missed doing now is I just need to schedule it. So I can reschedule it and it'll move these out, and then they're out of my 4-week window that I'm working with. Okay, easy peasy for the scheduler. That's what we're looking for. Okay, because you guys already have way too much on your plates. Usually, we don't need a bunch of noise distracting you from what your main objective is each day. Okay. Now, up here, of course, I didn't fix these because I'm missing this weight activity completely, and I've got 2 in here. So this is this is messed up. So I actually need to fix that. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy one that's good in this, and I'm going to get it into this project. Because this, yeah.
Technical suggestion. When you do that, just rename
Gotcha.
the activity and remove the project ID from it.
We'll do. Okay, so get rid of this.
With the dots. Just leave it weight.
Okay. Now, in this example, because this client wanted to make sure that each project had it done right, we built in the project ID as part of the activity ID naming. Okay, so that's why Ravi's telling me to get that out of there. Okay, now if I didn't, it would just give me a message telling me I don't have it right on the other screen. Now here we got 2, so it's also messed up. So I need to get rid of one of these because it doesn't know which one to use. Okay, and I'll refresh that. And then what you should see happening is it's going to do its magic. And see, it changed this duration to match what I had on the project. It built the logic. And here it's still working on this one. Okay, so it changed the duration. And it hasn't done the logic yet. So let's give it another minute and it should do the logic. Okay, unless I have a problem, but let's give it a second here. Okay, so that's the last step, is it should go ahead and do this one. Okay, did I do it wrong, Ravi? Okay, well, let's give it a second. But you get the idea, hopefully, how beneficial this can be, okay? Because it takes some of the mundane tasks away from the schedulers. It's controlled, it's organized, and works great, okay? For this client, saves them thousands of work hours. There it goes. Okay, so it did it now. And again, if you've just reschedule, oops, there we go. It'll move those activities out. Okay, so huge. It looks like a tiny little thing, but this is a huge thing because it's saving thousands, literally thousands of work hours every year for this client. So the few $100s a month for the calculator for the whole team, it's paying back in spades here for this, even just this function. Now, the other thing that we have in this case is, well, what do you want to do with this activity once this logic tie, once the work starts to actually take place? Okay, so we start updating the work. What do you want to do with this logic tie? Okay, so we have a few different ways you can strategize on this, okay? So once I actually want to organize this work, I might delete this logic tie. That's an option. But again, it's something else that you got to remember to do. So with this client, we also have an automation on what happens with this logic. And let me just open up the bottom window to try and explain this to you. Okay, so let's look at the relationships. So you can see that we're putting a finish to start from the hold activity to the start milestone. So that's this logic tie here. Well, what happens if I actually update this work order? And I'm just going to do it as if it went perfectly to schedule. Okay. So we actually do this work So what we also have done is in this, and I'll go back to this relationship window so you can see it, is we've also automated, let's go to the right activity. We've also automated the behavior of this relationship. So they wanted those to automatically flip to start, so that that logic tie switches. Okay. So it'll just take a second. And so in their case, we're automating this. You could automate this to drop this logic tie too. Okay, so you can do many different strategies. In their example, we did a start to start. So it's automatically switching that. Okay. So again, this is food for thought. That's what you have to look at this and say, oh, I know I have these things that I don't like about how I have to handle logic. Maybe calculator could help me. Okay. Because we're trying to automate basic functions that can really add up over time to many work hours. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. So this has different features. We could drop the logic too. That's another option we could do, is drop the logic. So there's lots of different ways to strategize on it. Now, when I come back here, you should start to see certain flags change. So these because I fixed those two, these flags are saying they're good. Looks like I probably did something wrong on these. Is it just the naming? Yeah, the activity ID naming isn't quite right. So should fix up the activity ID naming, I guess, is what I've got wrong. But the point really is this is very easy to know whether we've got it set correctly or incorrectly without having to open thousands of projects and fixing something that's truly important to their business process. So this, again, saves tons and tons of time. That's the benefit. And it's consistent. Each project is being used in a consistent manner. So if you have a scheduler that moves from one group to the other, they already have consistent business processes.